Hey guys and gals, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Butternut, or Killer Fat Joe if we are being formal. So you've read the title, you know why you're here. 3 Warhammer 40K games that you should be playing. I won't tease you around, and nor is this a tier list. All 3 of these games are absolutely beautiful and critically acclaimed, so you should be playing these. They're so good. You might be like me who stumbled on the franchise without having playing a lick of the tabletop. And you might not know which games are good and which aren't. Warhammer 40K has some big size flops, but here are a few you should definitely get your hands on. Any veterans of the franchise can definitely back me up on these choices. So we will be covering these 3 games in this order. Our first contender will be Dawn of War 2. Next up is going to be Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2, and to bring us all the way home is Warhammer 40K Space Marine.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker!
Warhammer Dawn of War 2 is a squad-based real-time strategy game. You are a recently promoted force commander of the elite Adeptus Astartes Bloodraven chapter, an unstoppable badass in the grim future of the 41st millennium. The Imperium of Mankind is in rapid decline thanks to the fuckery that was the Horus Heresy, and with Big Daddy E on the throne, the hope of humanity is dwindling. Cue the First Aurelian Crusade and the general timeline of the game. Dawn of War 2 takes place in the Coriolis sector, which has always held deep roots important to the mysterious chapter. It is here the Space Marines utilize the planet in this sector as a source of technology and homeboy recruitment. Your duty as a force commander is to repel back the encroaching hordes of foul Xenos as they desperately seek to destroy all shreds of humanity. While the game only starts out with you fighting the orcs, it quickly will descend into an all-out alien orgy of blood, guts, and bolter fire. Alongside the orcs, you'll face the filthy craft-world Eldar and the ever-imposing Tyranids as you battle across the stars in order to save the sector. With more Chaos Marines if you opt in to buy the complete Master Collection, which I highly recommend. Really, the whole game is great. Dawn of War 2 shares some familiar faces and of course the universe with its predecessor, but that's about it. Dawn of War's 2 main focus is tactical squad-based combat. Alongside the Force Commander, you will take 3 very different squads of Space Marines into battle with you, using the full roster, making any fanboy squeal in excitement when they finally see the Dreadnought land on the battlefield. While the first game had base building and massive armies to wreak havoc with, Dawn of War 2 takes a step in the opposite direction, instead opting for smaller teams fighting back endless monstrosities. Now I do like the smaller base squad units more. It's more badass, and 2, it seems closer to the lore when it comes to its heroes and elite squads. They seem to do more damage and live up to the reputation versus just spawning in another faceless unit. However badass the Space Marines are, it's more impressionable when it comes to these squads. And also, it's all about the micromanaging game in the RTS. For those who don't know, micromanaging in strategy game like this simply refers to combat-based management. You may have heard the familiar terms macro and micro, gotta pronounce it more. Micro really just involves tactically placing your squads, and macro management is base building and so on. While it is lacking in the base building department, it does have a fully fleshed out RPG system and inventory management screen. The main chunk of time spent in between missions is divided up into 3 different things. The first and most important is upgrading and fully equipping out your squads. You'll spend a lot of time reading the description of items as well, which perfectly fit into the lore. Different rarity of items yield more stats for you to pick and choose from as you build the perfect squad system. Next is debriefing and understanding the mission you've selected to go on, and finally deciding which squads you'll be taking into the field. Getting back into the nitty-gritty of gameplay, the 4 squads you command are heavily diverse in all of their abilities. While some of them have the same accessories, you can equip them in the deployment screen. It is healthy to have multiple options on your back. I know that sentence sounded a little weird, but I didn't know how else to get it across. Pretty much, in the stupidest terms I could possibly think because I am stupid, you can have the same accessory equipment such as frag grenades or med packs or something like that across multiple squads. There you go. You're welcome. Anyway, you'll always have to take the Force Commander, which in all intents and purposes is you. The remaining 3 squads can be filled with all the other available options. A heavy Devastator squad led by Sergeant Antavius, or you might opt in for Sergeant Cyrus, who leads the Scout Regiment of the Blood Angels. Really, it's a diverse option as you could possibly be with these squads. When it comes to combat, it's just a bit difficult when you first launch into it. Cover plays a huge role in how your battles will come out. Enemies can get inside buildings to set up a sniper's nest, and it's your decision whether to shoot him out or blow his ass to kingdom come. Using demolition charges or heavy ordnance will send the building crumbling down, making it impossible for the enemy to fortify that position again. But that also acts as a double-edged sword, as enemy squads can do the exact same to you. Now you might think that using just ranged or just melee weapons will get you through the battlefield. Well, let me tell you how fucking wrong you are, my sweet summer child. There is an incredibly diverse horde of enemies just waiting to sink their alien teeth into that sweet Terminator armor, and they will use every resource they have at their disposal to bring you down. Heavy machine gun fire might pin down your chain-wielding assault squad, while Elder Warlocks might take your sweet scouts to church, which we know is heresy. Dawn of War 2 has 3 different game modes for you to dive into. Of course there is the campaign, which has some excellent cutscenes I might add.
Strike from the sky, brothers!
Also, you've got the PvE co-op mode called The Last Stand, and finally, the PvP portion of the game, which I won't be showing the multiplayer side, but it should be pointed out because both modes are a shit tons amount of fun. I got dick stomped every time I played on multiplayer, so that's the main reason. I don't want people to think I suck at gaming or anything, since that's really the only skill I have.
Onward!
Battlefield Gothic Armada 2 has something that really trumps over the other games in this list.
Presentation!
The atmosphere and sense of urgency you get in almost every aspect of this game is damn right overwhelming right from the get-go. There is so many pieces moving and attacking on this galactic board that's even hard to keep up with it all. Battlefleet takes place at the end of the 41st millennium, and is the first game to be a part of the Gathering Storm story arcs in the Games Workshop lore. Let's just say Murphy's Law is extremely prevalent in this game. Everything that could happen is going to absolute shit. Cadia, the stalwart world that has stood outside the Eye of Terra for ages, has fallen. Abaddon the Despoiler makes his move, unleashing his 13th Black Crusade to destroy the Imperium of mankind. At the same time, the Eldar forces desperately try to hold their craft worlds. Tyranids are doing their endless buffet thing, and the Necrons are doing some posh sneaking. Really, this game is the ultimate naval warfare in the Warhammer 40K setting. Massive fleets battle out in vivid, explosive war. Lances arc across the battlefield, shredding the hulls of the target vessels. Bombers make daring runs to finish the dying hulk of metal, and portside machine gun turrets desperately try to shoot down the advancing torpedoes, while a gargantuan Tyranid Ancient One rams into the slowing frigate, unable to escape from its mighty maw. This isn't just some description of one random mission. This is almost every battle. Constant action accumulating after some daring strategy is the name of the game in this millennium. Either be brave or float in the cold emptiness of space. That, or be chicken wings for Tyranids. I'm sure they wouldn't mind the extra biomass. This game spares no expense when it comes to playing any faction in the tabletop game. Right now, we have only the Imperium, Necrons, Tyranids, and Chaos for campaign settings. All 12 factions of the tabletop are present for this naval fuckfest. I haven't quite played all the factions yet, but of course the Space Marines are my favorite, with the Necrons being a close second. Each faction also plays differently from the rest, having unique movesets and ships that fit into their retrospective races. This is some similar abilities, but for the most part every faction plays differently from the rest. The campaigns have massive campaign maps, which has you battling or eating across each sector in the game. Similar to XCOM, there is a game timer, which forces you to make a move instead of buying your time and stocking up on resources. It's a massive 20-player game of chess that has you constantly questioning your decision. Leaders augment and bring amazing ships to the table, but it is so easy to lose them at the same time if you aren't careful. Progressing through the campaign takes patience and a lot of skill if you hope to be the hero of your races. Taking your time and resources to stock up on planetary defenses can shift the tide in your battle to your favor, and prevent an invasion from taking another world from you. However, my biggest complaint in the game comes from the auto battle system. Legit, it is worthless, and can lose you the campaign, so you'll pretty much be forced to play every single mission, which is fucking tedious. Unlike Dawn of War 2, there isn't a unique enemy or company banner to keep the game fresh. That's because this whole game is pushing desperation and heroic acts. Honestly, when you hear something funny, it sorta ruins the mood. This doesn't take away from the main game, as legit every frame and shot in this game is fucking gorgeous. Attention to detail is so prevalent, and it pays off for sure. Sound design, graphic design, and overall story design is excellent. And if you are a big lore master, getting into this game is excellent for the Gathering Storm books and all that fun stuff. I know this part of the video is a bit shorter compared to Dawn of War 2, but I'm still playing through all that is Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2. However, if you love mind games and seeing them come to an explosive climax, then this game is for you. Bringing us to a close is Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine. It is without a doubt the best shooter in the Warhammer 40K franchise. You play as the Ultramarines, the absolute beefiest Marines in all of Marineland. You like fucking shit up with a chainsword or a thunderhammer? Do you like doming filthy orcs with a bolter? Or just generally murdering everything that is tainted by chaos, or just different from the typical human? Perfect! Space Marine is the current pinnacle when it comes to playing the armor-clad badasses in the shooter genre. Serving the Emperor is your divine duty, and you are sent to Greya to protect the world-class Titans. And the citizens too, I guess. You play as Captain Titus, voiced by the wonderful Mark Strong. You, along with your companions, take on the orcs who are raiding the Forge World. Unbeknownst to you, there is a sinister force working in the darkness. Chaos sinks its sinister claws into the world. Really, this is just your standard hack-and-slash shooter, just in the Warhammer 40k setting. Captain Titus doesn't need pussy health packs or regenerating health like some bitch-ass loser in a struggling franchise. Instead, this man's man gets his chest hairs back by fucking up enemies in glorious melee combat. There isn't much to talk about in this game. You've got a pretty fun campaign that gets you invested in the story. However, the ending battle with the main boss is, it's incredibly lackluster. And we are still waiting on the next step in Captain Titus' story for 8 years. The setting is fucking spot on. Orcs have initially ravaged this world. Great towers of humanity's ingenuity are brought down to rubble as the Wah makes its way across the planet. That was fucking terrible. This is why I'm not a voice actor. The Imperial Guardsmen desperately seek to protect what little remains, and it doesn't really turn until finally the Ultramarines land. One Chaos finally shows its ugly, deformed head. You'll notice the energies of the warp rippling out from the Immaterium. But why should you be playing the standard hack-and-slash shooter? Because this game has so much potential. Legit, if the Eternal Crusade had been half as good as Space Marine, it might not have been such a massive flop. You've got quick, intense, close-quarters combat mixed in with sections where you fly around fucking shit up by the dozens. It, for all intents and purposes, is what an Ultramarine captain should be played like. While it's not as grandiose as the other two games on this list, it does nurture that need for a sequel or another badass IP from Games Workshop. Give me the Adeptus Astartes and make it mainstream like Halo, and I guarantee that is all I would be playing. Moving on, let's talk about the multiplayer for a bit. Multiplayer is fun, but the people who still play it are the ones who have unlocked every perk and weapon, and really just have a huge fucking advantage over players who might be trying to get into the game. There is some pretty fun customization in the loadout screen for the guns, although there's not a lot of guns and really only 3 classes you can get into. But the main fun comes into customizing your Chaos or Space Marine. There's full customization and multiple customization slots for you to dick around with. Definitely a lot of fun if you get into a lobby. Really, you might get into the co-op game mode, but the only game mode I've ever gotten into for PvP is Seized Ground. The graphics still hold up 8 years later, and that's pretty nice. Cutscenes are fun, and the voice acting is superb. Mark Strong, I mean, really, what can you do there? He's the perfect Space Marine voice. Well, guys and gals, that's all I've got for this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. I'll be doing more daily vids, and of course more Warhammer vids, as I'm lost deep in the warp that is Warhammer lore. Anyway, guys, I love you, but not really.